Hello, my name is Chuck Wolf. Over the years, I've worked in many different roles, including leading my own leadership consulting company since 1994. I've worked for and with some of the best companies and universities in the world, and have had the opportunity to work with government officials, military organizations, and public and private schools. I'm a leading expert and pioneer in emotional intelligence. Since 2009, I've been a volunteer hosting a radio show I created called The Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. I really enjoy making a difference in people's lives. The show is on award-winning community radio station, WPKN in Bridgeport, Connecticut. In recent years, Simsbury Community Television has been sharing my shows on their station and on YouTube. My sincere hope is that everyone who watches regularly will learn how to use the Emotion Roadmap in their own lives by listening to people who call in to get help with challenges at work, home, and in communities. To learn more, go to www.emotionroadmap.com. If you have a comment or question, email me at cjwolf@cjwolf.com. Thank you and enjoy the show. This is Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to WPKN 89.5 FM, listening to Supported Radio. And I just want to give you a moment to think, if you can, about what matters most to you today. What do you have on your mind today that you might like to talk with me about? Is there a time in your life where you've wondered, should I give somebody a call and just try and check out what's the best way to deal with the challenges I'm facing? I'd like to see if you can figure something out that makes some sense to you. So I'll give you a moment to think about that, about talking to somebody who's an expert in trying to manage your emotions internally and also help you with emotional challenges on the outside with other people in your community, your homes, your workplaces. And I'd like to give you a moment to just think about, how do you address some of the challenges you might face, and would you be interested in speaking to someone who wants to be helpful to you? That's what the show's about. I'm Chuck Wolf. The show's The Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. Think for a moment about the challenges you have in your life. I want to thank everybody who's a regular listener for tuning in. And I also want to welcome any new listeners, and I'll tell you a bit more about the show. But the show's about reaching out to the community, and I'd like to encourage you to give me a call early in the show so that I have the time to help you. This is a show that's on the first and second Wednesdays of each month, and it's on from 12 to 1 p.m., part of our community strip here at WPKN. I'll give you a moment to think. So I'm hopeful that maybe some of you may want to call in, because the show's about helping the community learn how to use a technique I've developed that's called the Emotion Roadmap to deal with emotional challenges that you face in your workplaces, with colleagues, with people who work for you, maybe with the person you report to, or people in different departments. In any case, there's lots of opportunities in our lives where we face difficult decisions, situations that create a lot of uncertainty and doubt, and problems to be solved. And one of the things I've discovered over the years is that so much of the challenge in problem solving that doesn't come somewhat easily to people with particularly good critical thinking skills or problem solving skills often involves emotions. These emotions can be generated by an internal conflict. As some of you who listen regularly to the show know, I've talked about the idea that we're influenced over our lifetimes by many different people who have had an impact in what we think is important and what we believe and how we've been raised and what we've taught to do in terms of what's acceptable behavior or what are the norms in our workplaces that are okay and what isn't okay. And sometimes we get conflicted about choices we make because the people that have influenced us didn't always think or feel the same about certain situations that we might find ourselves in. And so we're listening to many different voices who are fighting for influence inside ourselves at times. Often we don't necessarily think about them as separate voices, but we do realize if we step back and are reflective that a lot of people have had an influence on what we believe. Our experiences have had an influence on what we have felt at different times, what has happened. If we find ourselves in familiar circumstances and we were successful in dealing with similar kinds of things in the past, we often draw on those experiences. If we've had certain situations where we found that we were not at all successful in dealing with certain situations, and we don't know how to deal with it, that is particularly challenging. But whatever it is you're facing, whatever it is where you may find yourself having some confusion, some uncertainty, some doubt, it's often helpful to consider what emotions are driving some of your thoughts and some of your behaviors. And if it's involving somebody else, asking the same question about them is to ask, what do you think is driving their emotions, their thoughts, their behaviors, and how do we influence them? What's the best way to influence others? So if you've got something you'd like to call about, I encourage you to call in the beginning of the show because I've had more time at the beginning than I do at the end. And the number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. So I'll give you a minute. If you've got something that you've been waiting to talk to me about, it's a great time to do it at the beginning of the show when I have the most time. Again, the show is on from 12 to 1 p.m. the first and second Wednesdays of each month on WPKN.org. And it's on the air twice a month from 12 to 12:55, at which point another public announcement comes on. So I've got 55 minutes, and I've got 49 left. So if you want to give me a call, it's 203-336-9756. Also, I want to say hello to the listeners in the listening area. I know sometimes people listen to the show when it's archived or later. I sometimes put some of my shows on public radio exchange. And so one of the things that I encourage people to do is if they're looking to listen to past shows, that you might want to look up the Emotion Roadmap on the public radio exchange. And you'll find a number of shows. I've been doing this now I'm coming up on the end of my 15th year. I'll be beginning my 16th year somewhere around mid-December. So that's kind of exciting. When I first got asked to do this by a good friend and someone who was a student of mine at one time when I was teaching at the University of Hartford, Lou Pomalis, he said, "Chuck, wouldn't it be great if you were able to do what you're doing for us in these classes to help with our emotional challenges with our listening audience?" And WPKN, an award-winning radio station, he said, "I think you'd love to work for them." So anyway, my thought is that I'd like to have you give me a call if you'd like, to talk about something in your life where perhaps you're not getting along with a child, a parent, perhaps you're struggling with a partner, perhaps there's somebody at work that you're not getting along with or somebody in your community, and you're wondering what to do. You're really uncertain about what to do. And so when that happens, I find that it's useful to consider, hey, what are you feeling? What is it you're actually feeling? Can you think about that and identify what you're feeling? And if the feeling isn't particularly helpful, it may even be part of what's causing some confusion. I then ask you to think about what would be perhaps more ideal to feel. If the feelings you currently have aren't working the way you want them to work, aren't helping you to move forward, to move ahead, to solve whatever situation it is that you're challenged by, whether it's a problem or some kind of wonderful opportunity and you're just trying to choose what's best, give me a call at 203 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. Well, I'm waiting for you to call. I'd like to give a shout out to the people that see me and listen to me, not live, but they see this show because I record it for Simsbury Television. Some years ago, the person who was in charge of Simsbury Media now, a woman named Karen Hanville, had seen me as a speaker. I was speaking to the Chamber of Commerce in the area. And she said, "Hey, Chuck, that was a great talk. Would you consider doing a show for us, for Simsbury Television at the time?" And I said, "Karen, I would really love to do that for you, but this is a volunteer activity that I already do now that I have to prepare for and take some time. And I do it twice a month, and I've been doing it for a number of years at the time." And I said, "I don't really have the bandwidth to do more volunteer creative show making. So I'm sorry, I don't think I can." But she said, "Well, I heard you talk about the fact you have a radio show. What do you think about recording your radio show? And then we could post that on our site and make it a regular feature for our audience." I said, "Gee, that's a nice idea." And I said, "Oh, what are the logistical, requirements?" And then she showed me about the camera and the recording, and people here at the studio helped me figure out how to hook it up to the board. So we actually record this. And so I want to give a shout out to the Simsbury community people that watch this. I met with the chairman of the Simsbury Media Board of Directors last night, actually, because there was a dinner recognizing volunteers. And it was announced that I have now done over 200 shows for Simsbury TV. So that's that's a lot of shows. So again, you can actually see the show on Simsbury Television by going to their media station on YouTube. Just type in Simsbury TV Emotion Roadmap, and I think you'll find it. You can also find I have a YouTube channel. I've posted several of the interviews that I've done, a few of the shows that you can see there also. So those are a little different shows, often interviews of really smart people who I think can teach the world a lot about how to be smarter about emotions. I've got my first caller. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
How are you? My name is Frank. And,
hi, Frank.
Hi. I'm calling from Stratford, Connecticut. And great show.
Thank you.
I really get a lot out of the show. You know, I have a question about a situation that I'm trying to deal with here, which has been going on for a little while. The basis of the situation is that I was involved with a great woman for about 15 years. We had a long-term great relationship, and we had a home. It was her home in Connecticut, and basically we met. I was basically taking care of my family, my parents, who passed away suddenly, and this woman said, "Listen, why don't you come and live with me? Let's be together here." And it was working great. And then what happened here is that her son, who lived in New York State, got really involved in a really bad drug situation. And to make a long story short, he was arrested, and he escaped the police, and he fled to the West Coast. And that was about 7 years ago. And this incident that happened in her life, physically and spiritually, really started to change her and drive her into a real depressed state. And I stayed with her, and I was very supportive. I tried to be loving. I cared. I supported her. You know, I was always doing chores, take care of the house. And I was with this woman. I loved her very much. I still love her. And make a long story short, so she has a daughter who lives out west. And finally, she went to visit her daughter out there and stayed there for quite a while. And when she came back, she said, "Listen, I have to leave you. I have to leave this area because I can't stay in this house anymore. There's too many memories of what was happening with my son, and I need to be with my daughter now. I need to be with the one child that I have left in my life." And very quickly, the house was sold. I helped her pack everything up, and I relocated to another part of Connecticut. And I was very lucky in a very tight real estate market to locate a really nice condominium near the water. It's a beautiful place. But I am struggling here with this person no longer being in my life. I miss her a lot, and I live here and she lives there. I mean, the dynamics of the whole relationship is that it's not really going to work now. And we had some very hard discussions on the phone and in person. You know, I scheduled some trips. We went up to the Berkshires for a couple of weekends. We had a long talk. I said, "Honey, where are we going here? What are we going to do? Because I need you in my life, and I care about you." I was unable to leave Connecticut. I have a business here that I own.
Mm-hmm.
My family is here. My roots are here. I have 3 children and 8 grandchildren here. It was very hard for me to pick up and just move away. I don't know anybody out there. I would not have been able to run my business from there. I mean, it's a business. It's a hand-on service business, okay? So anyway, the reason I'm calling today is that I have been trying to review in my mind, like, when I got this condo, she gifted me all kinds of furniture and a bedroom set and dishes for my new kitchen and all this stuff, and even came and helped set it up. And I have so many reminders of her now everywhere I turn. It's like it's almost harder now than it was before, you know?
Right.
Because, yeah. And we traveled a lot. We traveled a lot over the years. And I have pictures of all these trips we took all over my condo. And I am having trouble moving on. And I guess I'm trying to close this door
Right.
before I open another door.
Sure.
I'm a prayer. I prayed a lot to God, and I feel that somehow in our lives, the Lord or the universe, I mean, they put people in your life and then they take them away. We don't know what the plan is or if there is a plan at all, or if this is just life is a roller coaster.
So true.
But,
I think I've got your circumstance under, in my head at least. Let me see if I can play it back to you a bit. Did you say your name was Frank?
yeah.
Yeah. So Frank, what I heard is you had a partner, a loving partner for 15 years. You had a lot of wonderful experiences that you've related to us, and she had a tough situation with her son. Circumstances led her son to leave, and maybe he's still in hiding in some ways. And she has one daughter, and she wanted to stay with the other daughter in the West Coast because there's a piece of her that felt very incomplete without a relationship, and this is what's important to her now. And you're wondering, how do you move on? Does that sound about right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way this concept of the roadmap works, I don't know if you listened before, Frank, but the idea is to try and understand how you're feeling and how do you want to feel. So let's just start with that. It sounds like you're feeling depressed, sad. It's really, honestly, it sounds to me like the grieving process I mean, she's not passed away, she's not dead, but she's out of your life. At least it feels that way at this time. And so you're in it what I would consider a grieving process. Does that make sense?
That's right. Yes.
And so, I mean, there's stages of grief that follow, but this is a little unique because she's not really, I mean, she's still a phone call away in some ways. And so it's really hard to, I mean, somebody's really gone. You don't have a choice here. But there's a piece in this case where you can always say, I wondered if I did this, or I made this phone call and said that. And if there's some way that I could maintain all my Connecticut ties and somehow spend time out there too. And so there's probably a piece of you that's still trying to figure that out.
Well, yes and no, because what happened here is that I went through a little psychiatric care after she left. I was really messed up. I had a lot of anxiety, and I started making a lot of mistakes in my work because my mind wasn't focused on what I had to do every day.
Yep.
And she did call me, and at one time she called. I said, I can't talk now. I'm really walking into a doctor's office. What's wrong? I said, I'm having some mental problems. And she said, don't lay this guilt trip on me. An argument ensued. And I said, I know you're trying to put your life together, but we have a life too. And I said, I think you've just abandoned all this. I miss you terribly, and I care about you a lot. But I could hear in her voice a change. I could hear that she had already moved on. In fact, I'm going to tell you something else. Even though she had not moved away out west, when we were living together in the last year, she was already gone. I mean, she was here physically, but her spirit and her soul wasn't. You know what I mean? You know, when you're with somebody and they're going through the emotions, right? They're cooking dinner, but they don't want to be here cooking dinner.
Yep.
Right? They want to be somewhere else.
Gotcha.
But they're here physically, but you know that they don't. So she had already moved away in the last year or two of our connection relationship. And so the last couple of phone calls were not good. And I don't feel it's time to reach out again because I don't feel I can have a real relationship with this person when she's so far away. I can't be jumping on a plane and she's going to come on a plane and try to maintain a relationship where we're thousands of miles apart. For me, maybe sometimes she says this works for a lot of people. I don't know how that works. Being alone all the time and not, how can I say this? And not, it's like you got one foot in and one foot out. You know what I mean?
I do. So let me stop you because I think I got it. So you're the idea of going back is really removed at this point.
Right. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because you introduced the idea of being a therapist, I always think it's smart for me not to assume I know what happened when you went there, and you probably got some help, I'm assuming. And so what are you looking for today that's different from that?
Well, you know what? I think I'm looking for a little guidance as to what is the next step or the first step to feeling better about yourself and realizing, because I'm going through a time where I'm feeling that I screwed up and that what could I have done differently, or what didn't I do, or what did I do too much of? What happened here that made us drift apart? I mean, I know every couple has issues. Every couple has things going on. We had a couple things going on, but there was nothing that was. She was my best friend too. You know, we talked all the time. We laughed. We did a lot together.
Did the therapy help you to dissect that, sort of a post-mortem? Did you go through that with the therapist?
I kind of left that because the doctor wanted me to go on some drugs.
Okay.
And I didn't want to start popping pills here. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to stand up, be a man, and realize what's happening and figure this out. The other thing is that, you know, I met a couple of women who would like to go out to dinner or do something, and I'm just not there. I'm just not. My head isn't into that right now. Although I don't want to be alone. I don't want. How can I say this? I'm lonely, but I'm lonely for her.
Okay.
You follow? I'm not. I just don't want to go meet anybody.
Gotcha. Okay, so you sort of described the couple of steps in this what I call a roadmap. So you're feeling depressed somewhat, sort of ready to move on, but this is why it's kind of mixed signals happening inside you that I picked up. Is you just said I'm lonely, but I'm still lonely for her, and so that's still holding you back from moving on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know that a new relationship it makes any sense at the moment. But let's just say, what can you do to feel better about life? And one of the blessings it seems like you do have, Frank, and what's going on in your world is you got a lot of family close by. Are
I
you
do.
close at all with that family?
Very close.
Yeah.
And they have been my brother, I'm Italian. My brother and my sister have been very, very supportive and getting together and coming over to a new condo and let's go out to eat and helping me out with things. And the other thing is my children and my grandchildren love me and support me, and I'm really blessed. I mean, I have 8 beautiful, healthy grandkids and 3 beautiful children, one of whom is a leukemia survivor, who I am so blessed and thank the Lord for every day. So I have a lot of good stuff going on. I have a business that's thriving. I am healthy. Got a new condo on the water here. I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on that's good. More good than bad.
So
it's just
the void that you're feeling isn't going to go away in the sense that you're going to get back together with this woman anytime soon. I'm not ruling it out that it might never happen, but I don't think it's in the cards, and it may never happen. And I think that's something that you want to. I think you want to accept that you may never go back to this. And then if you want to second guess yourself, if you were together for 14 years that were good and the last year wasn't great, I don't know that it's worth it. I mean, it's not like you had a problem with the relationship if you were together for 14 years and it was good. Something changed for her, it sounds like. And she needed something different. And I don't know that it had anything to do with you.
Well, the thing that happened with her son was just monumental, sir. It was monumental.
As it would be with anybody.
Exactly. And she was depressed a lot. She cried a lot. She drifted away from her girlfriends and the mutual friends we had here in Connecticut. She drifted away from all them. And we had a beautiful home. She never wanted to do any more entertaining. We used to do a lot of entertaining. We had a swimming pool. It was just a great layout. And no more of that.
Well,
that
Frank, let me stop you again because I think I got it. This isn't what I'm hearing, and I'm only hearing your side, of course. But what I am hearing is these are changes that were happening inside her. And
right.
I think second guessing yourself doesn't make a lot of sense if she didn't want to see other friends and other acquaintances. She was pulling away so that she could make the decision to go out west, and who knows if she's out west, maybe someday even see her son and reconcile with him. But right now, she's got a daughter. She's close to the daughter. She wants to be near the daughter. That became all encompassing, and good for her for making the move. And I think one of the things, maybe a way to kind of satisfy yourself on this, is that I want to be happy for her. If that's what she needed, and we had 14 great, wonderful years together, and I got a life out here with a lot of people that love me, maybe life isn't quite as bad as I'm making it out to be right now.
Okay.
And maybe one of the things that you want to feel, different than what you are feeling, is grateful. Grateful for the time you had with her.
Well, you know, exactly. I get that a lot. You know, I'm going to tell you something. You know, I really do feel blessed in so many ways. The other day I was driving my truck and I stopped at a traffic light and I saw a man in a wheelchair with no legs,
Yep.
and he could not cross the street, right? And I'm sitting in my truck, and I says, you got a lot of nerve today, feeling bad about anything. How look at this situation over here,
Right.
right? I mean, it sounds crazy,
No, it
but
doesn't.
sometimes it takes something like that to I think you're right. I think that maybe the angle here is just be happy for her and that she's moved on to a better place.
And be thankful for the time you had. I mean, something happened in her life that was catastrophic, what happened with her son. And it's hard to recover from anything that really goes the wrong way with children. And so I think hopefully at some point she feels better and maybe she wants to rekindle a relationship. Chances are she'll find somebody out there, though. So I wouldn't count on that for you. But I'd be thankful that she's found something that's working for her that she couldn't find in Connecticut when both her kids were out west, and one of them still wanted to be around her and with her and care for her and love her, and that was what was the most important thing apparently for her. And I hope, and maybe you should hope too, that this works as best as possible for her. But as I'm listening to you talk and what you just said about the fellow in the wheelchair, is sometimes, Frank, one of the things that makes sense is to do things for others. Just take and my wife has a habit that I think is really a good one for. She, every night when she goes to bed, she says all the things she's grateful for before she falls asleep. And maybe you want to try and find some kind of pattern or something that works for you that just reminds you about all the things in your life that are working. And maybe do more of them. Anytime you start to feel like, hey, I'm starting to think about her again, think about picking up the phone and calling one of your grandkids and saying, do you want to go to the park? Do you want to go out and play ball? Do you want to go? Hey, can I take you to a movie? You know what I mean? Just find a way to. I think it's wrong to think about a new relationship with another woman. But once you start to feel good about life again and you start to feel more grateful, then if you've got some, other women in your life that you feel like you might want to have a friendship with, not necessarily a love affair, but a friendship, then start exploring that. But first work on yourself.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks for the phone call, Frank.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now. Okay, so that's the emotion roadmap, folks. Anybody else want to call? You still got some time. It's 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. It's interesting. We all have challenges in our lives, and we all have things to be thankful for. And we usually focus on one or the other as opposed to both. But I think, a realistic approach to life is to assume that we're all on a roller coaster of sorts. And sometimes that roller coaster is kind of a mild roller coaster. And sometimes it's one of those roller coasters that takes you and turns you upside down in a giant circle and scares the heck out of you. So how do you ride the really wild roller coasters in life? Because they come up periodically, and they're challenging. And sometimes it's just really helpful to have somebody listen, just kind of take stock, try to make sense, help you make sense out of what's going on in your life, and offer some helpful thoughts that may indeed prove fruitful and give you what you needed. So if you're in that spot and you got something you'd like to talk about, the number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. I'll give you a minute to call. This is the best time to call if you're thinking about it at all. If you wait till the end of the show and you decide, geez, I am going to make that phone call, I'm going to run out of time to be able to help you. So again, 203-336-9756. Neil Young used to have a song I used to play when I played music on the show. I decided I wasn't going to play music for a couple of reasons, but one of them was I only have 55 minutes, and songs take some of that time. But I used to play It Might Have Been. Neil Young has a song. It might have been if I'd made that call to that fellow on the radio that I got some help today. But I thought I could handle it myself, or I didn't really want to go on the radio and talk about it. The idea, folks, of going on the radio is scary. I get it. But it's also, Frank, I was helping you. Hopefully everybody that's listening might be dealing with some similar situations. Lots of people have relationships that work for a period of time and then don't work anymore for a variety of reasons. What do you do? How do you decide how to move on? So I think everybody listening is getting some help too. That's the idea. The emotion roadmap is like a series of questions. In my mind, I'm always asking myself. One is, who is it I'm talking to, and what is he or she are they talking about, and what are they feeling right now? And then what would be ideal for them to feel? How do I help them get from what they are feeling to what's ideal? Now, I don't always go through the questions the way that I could, but they're always in my head. So I'm listening to Frank when I was talking to you, Frank. I'm thinking, man, you've got a lot of nice stuff in your life. But you're not seeing it because when that bubbles up about the relationship you had and you're still asking, what if I had done something different? What if I had somehow found a way to help her feel more comfortable being here with me? What if? And you keep second guessing what might have happened. And I thought, I don't see that as being productive. And I think second guessing yourself in this circumstance, it's always helpful to be reflective, but I'm pretty sure you spend a lot of time being reflective. And so as I listen to you, I think this is about her. And of course, I'm not talking to her. And so I don't know what's going on for her, but just listening to the way you described it, it was about her needing something different. Had little to do with you. I doubt that there's much that you could have done unless somehow you were able to move to California, perhaps, or to the West, wherever it was in the West. But I don't even know if that would have worked, because I think she just is struggling with what if she did something different with her son. I got to believe that's going through her head. And so a lot of things that changed for her, I think, just over time, the need to be with her other child who still loved her, who was still in her life, just became all-encompassing. That's the way it sounds to me anyway. And so now I'm thinking, what does Frank need to feel to move on? That's the question, right? What would be more ideal to feel? I'm thinking, well, got a lot of good stuff in your life. And I'm thinking, what about the feeling of gratefulness? And then I thought of what my wife always does at night, which is, say all the things she's thankful for and grateful for. And how important feeling grateful is for the things that we all have in our lives that really resonate when we step back and we think about them. Just take a minute, everybody who's listening, and just step back. I'm going to stop talking for a minute and ask you just to think about the things that you're grateful for in your life. I'll take 1 minute and give you that time. What am I grateful for in my life? I'll give you a minute. Well, I gave you about 45 seconds. I don't want to really be dead ear space for a very long time. Minute seems like a long time. I hope that was interesting for you, though. I feel like it. Call and tell me what that was like. Again, if it caused you to feel special, feel cared for, feel supportive, feel grateful. Did it bring a smile to your face to think about these things? Because it's a technique. It isn't just me telling you in the middle of my radio show, hey, take a step back and think about what feels good or what you're grateful about. It's actually a strategy you can use. Years ago, I was dealing with a lot of people who were going through downsizing in their organizations, and I was there to talk to them to try to help build morale. And one of the things that we introduced, it was myself and some other people working together. Oh, I've got a call. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Hi, Chuck. This is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you're welcome. just a little question for you. Called once before, and you helped me out. It was a couple of months ago, and it was helpful. Question now is I play music for a hobby, and I'm in a small group with a small group of people, and we meet once a week, and a couple of the guys I think have grown a dislike for me in some way, and so they challenge my songs or my ability, or I don't like it when they do that. They seem to team up on me, and I'm a little bit intimidated by it. I think I'm good enough to play with them, and as good as they are almost, but I really get upset when they do that, and was wondering if you had some advice for me to stand up to them or assert myself to them and keep on playing with the group, because I like the other players in the group, and I want to continue playing with them.
How big is the group, Jeff?
It's dwindled down to about 4 or 5 of us now. At one time, it was about 10 of us.
So people have left the group for any particular
smaller
reasons? People left the group?
I don't know. I never really asked. I guess they just lost interest.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I'm wondering if it's a dynamic in the group. So a couple of questions just to make sure I understand. So you're having an experience, it's like you said, there's 4 or 5. So if there's only 4 and 2 of them are ganging up on you, there's only one other person there, right?
At least another person, yeah. Sometimes 2 of us, 2 or 3 of us.
Okay. So, and those people don't seem to pick up on it, and they seem to be supportive, and they're fine with you being part of the group, as far as you can tell.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they seem to enjoy what I do and my contribution to the group. Yeah.
So one thought that goes through my mind, Jeff, just as I'm listening to you is this about these 2 other guys, and maybe why other people might have left, because maybe you didn't notice, but maybe they didn't make other people feel like they wanted to be there either. That's a possibility. Or I want to ask you, Jeff, have you had this kind of situation in other groups you've been part of before, where people seem to pick you out and focus on you and make life uncomfortable?
I'd have to think about that. In relation to music, a little, yeah, a little bit.
The reason I'm asking is because I don't know anything except what you told me, but I've dealt with lots of groups and lots of relationship issues over the years, and so just listening, it sounds like it's possible, since they started with a much bigger group, that the dynamic doesn't feel good because maybe, and I don't know if it's about these 2 other people, but maybe it just felt uncomfortable when these guys either picked on you or somebody else, and other people said, you know what, I don't need this. And they just chose to drop out and didn't say anything. I mean, that's a possibility. It's also possible, Jeff, that you want to, spend some time thinking about, is it something I'm doing? Is there something about me that's causing this reaction? And I don't know if that's the case, but those are possibilities, right?
I guess I can't think of anything that I'm doing. I try to help out and add to the group as much as I can, which I think is important to do. Otherwise, you just get those 2 guys dominating the whole hour and a half. Just play their songs and that's it.
Well, if that's the case, then I wonder, do you think that might have been a reason why some of the other guys left?
Maybe. I think the other players, they were not on the same level yet for playing either. So maybe they didn't feel as comfortable with their ability. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm just trying to get grounded here. If there's only four of you, sometimes five of you showing up, and two people are dominating regularly, and there are two people that are negative in the way that they deal with you periodically and making you uncomfortable, why do you want to stay?
I guess that's what I'm calling about, or that's why I'm asking. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe, I don't know how much of a leader and an initiator you are, but you had 10 guys that started, and maybe there's a few of those guys that you want to pick up and say, hey, how about the three of us? And you talk to two of the guys that were there before that are more comfortable to be around and are fun to play with, and you don't have this angst. Mm-hmm. I'm just suggesting, have you thought about some of things like that at all?
I guess the thought crossed my mind, but I didn't really think for too long about it. I thought I might want to repair what's going on with the existing group, but I don't know.
It might not be about you, Jeff. It might not be anything you can repair. But if it is all possible that it is, let's talk a little bit about that. If you've thought about how to make this better with these two other guys, have you ever tried anything to make it better? Have you done something very obvious and said something to them directly about it, or just sort of hinted at it? How have you dealt with it so far, at all, if you at all?
No, I have not spoken to them about how I feel. No, either one of them. In fact, and the only incident so far was about 3 weeks ago when they did kind of what I described before. They teamed up on me, and I stormed out of the whole session. And that was the only time that they, I think, got a hint that I wasn't happy about things.
So a lot of people go through experiences where they are troubled by what's happening, but for whatever reasons, they're uncomfortable speaking up about it, and directly just saying, hey, what's going on, guys? Every once in a while you make me feel a certain way. But just somebody asked, what happened when you came back the next time? Nobody said anything about it?
Chuck, I have not been back yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And nobody's called you?
Yeah.
Nobody's called you to see if you're coming back?
No, nobody's called me. No.
If nobody's called you and you haven't been back, then the question is, does it make sense to go back, I guess is what I'm wondering as you're talking to me, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah.
I mean, they're not missing you if they haven't called you back and you stormed out. Nobody called to say, hey, we're sorry if we made you feel bad or something. Nobody's dealing with it that way. So you calling up and saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you about what happened, when they may not even want you back is a possibility, I suspect.
Maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, the way you described it to me, Jeff, I mean, there's a couple things that if you feel like, hey, I failed at this and I'm upset with myself, that's one possibility. Another is this didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but damn, I'm better off not being around those guys anyway. I mean, a lot of times it's how you frame things in terms of how you want to feel about them.
Those are good points, Chuck. Yeah.
So I mean, if you if you're the type of person that wants to be the person that blames themselves, you'll go in the first direction, which is, ain't I awful? If you're a person who wants to feel confident in yourself and believe in yourself, you'll say, you know what? I kind of, in some ways, I'm sorry, and I miss this group because I like playing music and it was fun for a while with these guys. But I'm going to try and find a few other guys to play music with. That of the guys I just met, there were some I liked a lot, and to see if we can find a couple of guys that just want to do this, that are going to be far more comfortable and far more enjoyable, and not have all this, petty crap that happens between people when they somehow have to put themselves above somebody else and make the other people feel uncomfortable and dominate.
Right. Yeah.
You're comfortable with? I mean, I should ask you, what do you think would work best for you?
Geez, I really don't know. Yeah, I am an avoider.
Mm-hmm.
I specialize in that, so I probably we would be better off or feel better if I didn't even see those two guys anymore. I don't know what else to say about it.
So if you're not comfortable dealing with conflict, and which is the avoider part of what you just said,
Yes.
the question is, do you want to stay that way? Or do you want to take this as an opportunity to be more accountable to yourself?
I kind of do want to say something.
So maybe
they don't even know what's going on, and yeah, I do have to say one thing. I bumped into one of them who was kind of glad to see me. Hey, how you doing? He didn't say, "Are you coming back?" or "What's the matter?" He didn't do anything like that. But he was pleasant.
So let me ask you, if you do want to possibly think about this, how might you do it? How might you approach these guys if you wanted to approach them? What do you think makes sense? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, let them know. Either at least one of them, or maybe both of them, that it bothers me when they criticize my playing or criticize my choice of music, and especially when they do it together. But I want them to know that it bothers me. I have a feeling that it's not going to matter to them.
Possibly
that they're just critical people and they have strong opinions about a lot of things, but it's not really going to matter to them what I say to them or what I think.
So, this is, I'm going to run out of time, so let me say this to you. I'll give you a couple of thoughts in closing, Jim. One thought is that if I'm in your shoes, I'm thinking maybe the first person I call is the guy who isn't part of it. And just tell him, hey, listen, I haven't been back because this is what's going on with me and the other two. Are you seeing it the same way I'm seeing it? I'm just curious because I am going to call them, but I thought I'd start with you just to see if I'm making stuff up or if just a reality check. I don't know if you'd be comfortable with that, but that's something I think might make some sense.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that.
And then if
at least one of them, maybe a couple of them, I could do that.
Well, okay. So again, I'm going to run out of time, so I don't mean to cut you off. But so let me make that as a suggested starting point. The second thing is I'd call the guy that you ran into next because he already expressed some interest and he seemed pleasant when you saw him. And just let him know that, hey, look, I'm uncomfortable with these kind of things. And I'd love to come back. Do you want me back? And if you don't want me back, that's okay. But I just wanted to ask the question. And if you want me back, I'd just like to see a couple of changes made. And I'll talk to the other guy too, but I wanted to talk to you first. Am I making any sense to you? Does that sound okay to you? Okay. And by the way, Jeff, if this doesn't work out, I know the likely scenario is that you don't feel good about it if it doesn't work out the way you want. But the flip side is, Jeff, you've taken a step in changing your life to be more accountable to yourself, and you got to feel good about that, no matter how this turns out.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So can I leave you with that?
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah. Thanks for your help.
Okay. Good luck with it, Jeff. I hope it works out.
Okay.
Well, I hope you do it because that'll mean it works out. All right.
Yeah.
You take care.
You too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye-bye. Okay, folks. Thanks for listening. Again, this is Chuck Wolf. The show is The Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. And I want to thank my callers, Frank and Jeff. I hope that the information that I provided was useful. And I'm on the first and second Wednesdays of the month. And I'll be back with you in December. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I hope your Thanksgiving is very civil. And remember, even if somebody voted differently than you and you love them, be nice. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.